come tomorrow, Fallout 76 is getting its first non-PvP based DLC update in a little over 2 months. The only other DLC we saw was the addition of the Battle Royale mode, and although cool, naturally coming from mostly a single player background, Fallout doesn't have the biggest PvP focused audience. But either way, tomorrow Meat Week is launching. But even further, I will actually be live streaming the update, so if you want to check it out for yourself, you could come join me. Definitely will be inviting some people to play with me. But in this video, what I want to do is actually go over some of the interesting things we found out about this up and coming update and kind of just an overview of everything you can expect from it. There's been some details shared from Bethesda, a lot more in the way of details shared from data miners. In fact, actually while I was doing some data mining, I found something very interesting that I think actually just revealed a lot about future DLC, specifically with Wastelanders. But without further ado, let's take a look at what Meat Week is going to actually involve. So Meat Week is going to be a limited time event in Fallout 76. It's starting tomorrow on August 1st and it'll last for 7 days until August 8th. This update will technically be patch 11.5, meaning there might be some other changes to the game. They mentioned in the past they're going to be tweaking legendary spawn rates, trying to get them back up to appropriate levels, so maybe you'll see something around that. A new duping exploit was fairly widely publicized a couple of weeks ago, and I know a lot of us would love to see that one patched out also. Earlier today, Bethesda did tweet out that the Fallout 76 servers would be taken down around 10 a.m. With some of the past events, they actually left the servers up, so the fact that this time around the servers are in fact being taken down makes me at least think that there definitely will be some other changes to go along with this one. But outside of that, it seems like the real main focus will be Meat Week. For this part of the video, I'm just going to intermingle what Bethesda has said officially and fit in some of the data mined information with that. Although, when looking at data mined information, it is important to remember some of this is a couple of weeks old now, and although it's likely to hold pretty true and has with past events, it naturally is subject to change, or we might be interpreting it wrong as we don't have the complete picture. Well, either way, the first side of this event is actually going to be with Primal Cuts. To put on a barbecue, you're going to first have to get meat for that barbecue. Primal Cuts is going to be an event you could do in game. It'll actually occur once every 15 minutes, so pretty often, but also in 3 separate locations. The difference between these 3 separate locations of Primal Cuts is the difficulty level. The idea being that if you're a low level, you could go one place. If you're a very high level, you could go another place. From data mining, we could see a ton of new prime creatures in the files of Fallout 76. Although not explicitly confirmed, it seems pretty likely this is going to be what you'll find at these Primal Cut locations. And during this, basically what you're going to be trying to do is get prime meat, which will be later used during the cookout. Although it's not clear how difficult some of these areas will be, if they really take advantage of all these creatures, it certainly can get pretty tough at the high level version. There are entries for a lot of the top tier enemies in this game. Super mutant behemoths, Mylar queens, the sheep squatch, as well as several other cryptids. One of the big complaints with the past limited time event, that with the Fosnot Parade, was that it was just way too easy. So hopefully Bethesda will make one of these locations genuinely hard. After completing this first segment of the event, you'll first get the prime meat, which will be used during the second segment, but also caps and experience. Then moving on to the event itself, we do have Grom's Meat Cook, which is really going to be the core parts of this event. At its core, what this is really going to boil down to is running around and doing errands to maintain the party and make the party great while Grom cooks the ingredients. Bethesda themselves mentioned that there'll be no enemies during this segment, so you won't have to bring weapons if you don't want to, but also from some of the prime meat you earned during the first segment of Primal Cuts, you could actually put that on a grill to earn legendary script in the second segment with Grom's Meat Cook. That's pretty interesting, because what will likely happen is if you kill a lot of enemies or a higher level in general, you probably earn more legendary script. In game right now, you have a cap on how much legendary script you could earn per day by turning in legendaries. Considering this is just a limited time event, I wouldn't be surprised if this gives you a pretty easy way to actually get over that cap. Although that's not explicitly confirmed, technically they still could leave you at the same cap you have in game right now. Although that would kind of suck and be really anticlimactic. Some of the objectives we can see are extinguishing brush fires, cleaning up Charlie's poop, and even cleaning up rotten leftovers and probably some dirty plates. There's likely going to be a music and other components to this also. It's probably just going to be several miscellaneous tasks for you to do while the barbecue's going on. And you'd be like, oh, that sounds horrible. Why would anyone do that? Well, this is going to be one of those events that has tiered reward lists. So basically, depending on your performance, you'll gain access to a better set of rewards. As far as what rewards you can actually expect. There's going to be a couple of new weapons introduced with this. Firstly, we see the meat cleaver. There are textures in the files for this one that'll probably look pretty similar to this, and it's going to be a new throwing weapon that you can get in game. It seemingly will do 75 damage, so fairly similar to tomahawks that you can already find in game. And specifically, one of the better rewards you can get from this is the recipe for the meat cleaver, so you can just craft them at your will. Another new weapon getting introduced is going to be the meat tenderizer. We can actually see this already in game as Grom is holding one in the current version of Fallout 76, which is kind of a cool little nod at the future DLC. So it'll look like this, but alternatively, you're actually going to be able to earn the recipe for this one, but also several mods for this weapon. There's actually 3 separate mods introduced: a spicy tenderizer, a peppered tenderizer, or a salty tenderizer. The spicy one's going to add on energy damage. The peppered one will increase damage, kind of similar to how spiked weapons are typically used in game. And then finally, the salty one is actually going to increase your chance to cripple, increasing limb damage overall. So those are the new weapons that actually seem pretty cool. It's actually really similar to what they did with the Sheep's Watch event, but new weapons are almost always welcome in this game. Unfortunately, at least as of yet, it's not totally clear whether or not you can get legendary variants of these. Hopefully they are implemented into the legendary vendor. Although even outside of that, there's going to be several apparel items you could also win. There's going to be a chef hat, but also a separate bloody chef hat, a meat week outfit in general, some various meat week flags. It looks like there might actually be 3 separate meat week flags that you can earn and place down at your camp. A new super mutant barbecue grill that you can place down, probably pretty similar to this one that's actually used in some of the promotional images for this, but also some pretty curious fireworks. The reason I mentioned that these are curious is the fireworks are listed on some of the reward level-less entries for this event, but they also do have the ATX prefix, which is typically reserved for atomic shop items. I mean, one way or another, it looks like the fireworks are coming. It's just not totally clear right now if that'll be exclusive to the atomic shop or actually winnable for free in game. But either way, that'll be a nice touch. Naturally, fireworks fit in pretty well with summer barbecues. Although that's not actually it. There are several other things coming along with this that do sound pretty interesting. There's going to be some kind of effect that gets applied to your character known as meat sweats. It seems like there's going to be different variants of this meat sweats effect, and more or less what it's going to do is reduce your hunger, but then make it so when your character figuratively farts, it actually leads to an explosion. Again, there'll seemingly be tiers of this, so that might be how long it actually lasts in game. And with the naming meat sweats and what it actually does, it makes it seem like it might be from eating some kind of food. But either way, that's just kind of a fun little addition with this DLC. We also see a variety of new food items that are going to get introduced with this: a tato salad, Charlie's feed, and also Charlie's milk, which is actually going to be a significantly better version of the milk you could see in game right now from Brahmins. And honestly, yeah, that's a pretty good overview of what you can expect from this event. To me, it actually sounds pretty cool. And I know a lot of you, it might sound kind of tedious or mundane, but if you broke down what we saw from Fosnot in the same way, just listing out everything, it also is pretty mundane. The thing that makes these in-game events like this pretty special is the way the community all just kind of flocks together. It's made fun by the presence of others, the chance at winning some of these unique and cool rewards that you couldn't win otherwise. Now, unlike Fosnot, it doesn't seem like we're going to have kind of a rare set of masks. With Fosnot, there were some super or really hyper rare masks that are now some of the rarest items in Fallout 76 that had like a 0.01% chance of dropping. With Meat Week, some stuff will be rare, but it doesn't look like anything will be quite as rare, and there won't be a full set of items to earn through that, unless it gets added last minute before the update tomorrow. But as far as one of the other things I did actually find while I was trying to do some digging into the Fallout 76 files myself, very low level, not as deep as some of the other Datamine stuff I was showing you, I found texture files for a new power armor coming to Fallout 76. Now these were simply labeled SS, and then whatever part it is, whether it's the arm, head, or body. By opening it, it looks like SS means Secret Service, and it looks like we're getting a Secret Service power armor. Naturally, these are very dark. When they're like this in just a flat picture, it's hard to visualize what they're going to eventually look like, but basically these textures will be spread out onto a power armor to create the look you eventually see. Even just looking at these files, this is pretty interesting. Initially, I wasn't sure if this was a power armor skin or a totally new power armor. Again, it's kind of hard to tell, but a lot of the stuff you see here is seemingly Enclave focused, the Secret Service, the government, the US. But then, looking at them a little longer, this piece right here actually reminded me of the power armor we saw in the Wastelanders trailer, that being this power armor that was very dark and hard to see. And well, yeah, seemingly if you actually take this little chest texture right here, and if you flip it over and try and apply it on that larger power power armor, it looks like it's a pretty close match. So what I'm guessing here is this totally new power armor we see is actually the Secret Service power armor. For whatever reason, the version we see in the trailer doesn't actually have any of the writing or logos we could see in these new texture files. These were, again, just added to the game earlier in July, but that could have a fairly large implication on Wastelanders. Maybe it's just a one-off power armor, but otherwise, seemingly the Secret Service corresponding to the Enclave, and then seeing this power armor in action could mean we get some Enclave-based NPCs. They mentioned how there's going to be several minor factions with this new DLC, some of which they aren't talking about. I think it'd be really cool to see a couple of Enclave people at the White Springs bunker following that update. Now, maybe I'm reading way too deeply into this. Maybe in reality, these are two totally separate power armors, but to me at least, it really looks like they match up, and it definitely gets me hopeful for some kind of Enclave dialogue options or maybe even a small quest line. But with all that being said, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you found this video informative. Hopefully you feel like you have a better idea of what's coming with tomorrow's DLC update. But with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.
I've done this hundreds of times.